Welcome to Vault Conversations podcast, where we are that friend that says it out loud and should not be put on speakerphone regarding relationships, business, modern dynamics, and just life in general. Consider this the space that validates your inner thoughts. So turn off your filter and step into the vault. Okay, welcome back to season 2 of Vault Conversations. This is our first episode and we are coming in with a bang. I have a very, very special, highly anticipated on my end guest with us today. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and then we will go ahead and jump right into it.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is RAYA CLAY. I'm originally from Monticello, Arkansas. It's a really small town in Arkansas, about probably 8,000 or 9,000 people. And from there, I did attend the University of Arkansas. Go Razorbacks, the best school, the SEC, if you ask me. And from there, I kind of just hit the ground running my freshman year. I was a sports writer for the U of A's newspaper. From there, I was also on camera for the U of A's student-ran TV station and just doing everything, writing, reporting on camera, putting together video packages until my sophomore year. I was offered a paid job for the Razorback athletic team as a production assistant. So I was still shooting cameras, making video packages, writing, but this go around, I was doing it for the U of A's athletic department. So I was covering football, basketball, gymnastics, tennis, I think even swimming. Like I was a college student to where I was like literally doing everything because my like goal was to like work in sports TV. And I knew the chances were very slim coming from a very rural city in Arkansas. So definitely took full advantage of that. And then my junior year of college, ESPN launched the SEC network, where they highlighted all the SEC schools and only had a network just to display those games. In the process of doing that, ESPN hired, I think, about 10 to 30 students at each SEC school to work for them as paid freelance workers. And because I'd already built all these connections up, I was one of those student workers they hired. So I actually was working for ESPN before I even graduated college. So I was at all the big Razorback games for football, basketball, even baseball at this point, working with ESPN directors who are trained for years to teach me, how ESPN shoots and edits their content and footage. So that was pretty much my journey throughout college. Post-college, after my hard work, it finally paid off. Applied for ESPN several times, but unfortunately did not get hired. But I got a great opportunity at Fox Sports in Charlotte, North Carolina as a graphics coordinator. Here, I was over all the graphics and graphic productions for NFL, boxing, Bundesliga, NBA, and several other various projects. Definitely thankful and enjoyed my time at Fox Sports. But as I mentioned earlier, my goal was to work at ESPN. I wanted to see the job at ESPN. Before I turned 30, one of my college professors actually told us that we wouldn't get jobs in national TV until we were 30. So I definitely wanted to prove her wrong because that's just how I am. So at this point, I think I was like 24, 25, living in Charlotte. So you know what? I'm going to start back applying for ESPN jobs because I hadn't applied since I graduated college and, got denied. But at this point, my first job out of college was at a national network. I have experience and I've met so many people. So in 2018, I started my journey to ESPN. I was so confident that I was going to get a job at ESPN within the next year. So I was applying, and I actually applied for this job that wasn't really what I was doing at the moment, but I knew I could do it. I knew it would get my foot in the door. Yeah. So I applied for that job and I actually ended up making it to the last round to where they flew me out to ESPN's headquarters, interviewed me in front of like 2 groups of people, got me the nice hotel, the rental car, and really accommodated me throughout the interview process. And then a month later passed and I heard back from the recruiter and she told me that I was great, but I was overqualified for the role. Never at 24, 25 years old, I was told that I was overqualified. Only that, I didn't have enough experience or I didn't, have enough knowledge in this. But, it was definitely a bummer because I had made it so far. I mean, it's not every day your dream company flies you out. I had made it so far and only to be told that, I was overqualified. But again, I think that was God telling me that there is something bigger out there for you because this is the first time that you've been passed up for a good reason. So maybe a month or two later, the same recruiter at ESPN, shout out to Brittany Kelly, she's like one of the best recruiters in the corporate business, emailed me and said, "Hey, are you still job looking? The team that interviewed you a month before, they want to pass you along to another team that has a higher paying role and position available." And I'm like, "Well, absolutely." What do I have to do? Like, sign me up. And she was like, the bad thing is two people from the interview team will be the same, but the rest will be different. This will be a longer, more intense interview, and you will have to apply again.
Okay.
But the good part about it was they came to me for the job first. And that really just motivated me. So she told me I had to interview again. And I was a little like, should I do this because I'm taking time off from my current job? But again, we gotta think long term here. This is my dream job. This is what I had on my vision board since graduation. This is, ESPN. It's one of the best. So I ended up doing the interview process again. They flew me back out to their headquarters in Bristol, Connecticut. Got the chance to tour Sports Center, which was absolutely amazing. And I think maybe a month or so later, I got the call back. They wanted to offer me a senior associate creative producer role. My time at ESPN was absolutely amazing. I'm very transparent to say that I was only on the ESPN headquarters for about 8 or 9 months before COVID hit. And because I was more of like a, background producer, creative producer, I was able to, do my role from home. So the ESPN campus is absolutely beautiful, but out of my 2.5/3 years, I was only on campus for about 8 months. So the time I was there was just so amazing. What other employer do you know that has a full service cafeteria with chefs and, 2 gyms, a daycare if you have children? Wow. It's absolutely amazing. And while I was there, I was privileged enough to win 2 Emmy Awards. My first Emmy Award for a Sports Center special called Heroes, History, and Hope. And then my last Emmy Award I actually got in the mail this year from ESPN was another Sports Center special that was featured on Kobe Bryant called Kobe, the Legend, the Legacy. So definitely check that out. Again, major shout outs to ESPN, but I'm sure you want to know, what are you doing now? You moved to LA, you have a different title, like what's going on?
Yeah.
So in 2021, I did leave ESPN. I actually saw this role I have right now on Twitter. And I was like, you know what? I've done so much at ESPN on the linear startup production. I won 2 Emmy Awards in 2 years. I worked on Sports Center. I worked on this. I worked on that. I want to explore some other passions. And that was digital and social and podcasting. And as you know, like the podcasting world on all levels is absolutely like just skyrocketed. People are hardly ever sitting down watching TV these days. They're on their phone getting news and TV. Like our iPhones, like, look, it's sad enough. I have two iPhones. So that's how you know, like iPhones are taking over. And I saw this role and I was like, this seems so cool. I can go back to Fox Sports, but this time at their national headquarters. I can be a digital talent producer, work directly with talent, help talent write their scripts, help talent like create their shows. Like I will be talent's right hand man. When you see the host of the show, you will see producer. It will be, So I end up emailing somebody who interviewed me years ago for a role, didn't hire me. Just goes to show like how staying in touch with people is such a big thing because he's now a senior executive director for Fox Sports Digital. At the time, he was only a producer like me. So I emailed him. He referred me to the hiring manager, and I got hired in 3 weeks. The fastest hiring process of my life. So grateful for Fox Sports. They gave me a full relocation package. Shipped my vehicle, shipped my apartment, everything for me. Here in sunny California, sorry, that was a lie. I do a lot. I'm a talker.
No,
that is my journey from small town Monticello, Arkansas to U of A to now in sunny California.
Okay. So I want to backtrack a little bit just because I feel like hearing some of the stuff that you were able to do by 24, I kind of want to know at what point did you realize, like, did you have an interest in sports to even focus there? Did you have more of like a broadcast interest? And then how your family supported that? Because similarly, I wanted to go intern at Cosmopolitan like off the rip when I was young. And I remember my mom just being like, I mean, you can struggle if you want to, but whatever, like it's not gonna pay the bills. So it just kind of deterred me, like, okay, let me focus on things that, you can make money from. So to do so much so young, like how big of a role did your family play? And then how like strong were you mentally to be like, nah, this is what I want to do, so I'm gonna go for it and just apply myself.
For sure. So going back to like what made me want to have the sports interest, that started back in high school. I actually played sports. I played basketball. I played softball, and honestly, I was not good. I was very horrible. I think one of the first players I started watching was LeBron James, and I was like, oh my God, like he's just so fearless. He's tough. Like I want to play basketball, even though I always was like a girly girl. I just love like the attitude and like just ambition of athletes. So I was like, I want to try this thing. And again, I was not good at all. So you know what? I'm gonna stick to, dance and cheer and that. But I also had a really strong interest in writing and communications. Like I was taking, comp one and comp two, which were college classes when I was still in high school. I was like finishing my lunch break and then driving to our local college because I was that interested in writing. I was taking college courses in high school. So I think like me saying, you know what, I'm not good in sports, but I'm going to go after what I want. And then I realized that, I can combine sports and journalism to want to have my dream, like life and career. That's kind of how it came about in high school. And then once I kind of dawned on me, because like I really didn't have a lot of like male figures in my life besides my uncle. So it took me realizing like ESPN, like this is where you want to work. All the top people work there. To be honest, my mom always has supported me. She was a single mom when I was growing up. So one thing she's done is supported, both of her girls time in and time out. And yeah, I did have some people though in my family, even friends, saying how, journalists don't make a lot of money, like it's gonna be low paying, to work at ESPN. Nobody from Monticello is gonna get a job there. But again, I even told my mom, I said, people are right. When you work in local, you get paid minimum wage. You don't get paid a lot. Like I refuse. And I'm just so over. I refuse to start my career in local TV. Like no shade to anybody, but like I said, I refused. So my mom, I remember she told me, she's like, you know what? If you don't want to work in local TV, don't apply for local jobs. Only apply for big jobs, and that's it. I'll never forget she told me this. And you know what? I only applied for big jobs, and that was it.
In terms of starting from the bottom, like I know you're talking about your college experience, but even once you get to ESPN, once you're in that position, is it like I hold this position and that's that? Or is it like you really do have to still prove yourself and, feel out what everybody else around you is doing and how much weight they hold?
For sure. Definitely had to prove myself even when I did, I was working for ESPN. Again, they're the number one sports network in the world, and they have been for years. So, and they're very big on their employees always growing and learning. They even have courses you can take for like video editing, Photoshop, and things of that nature. While you're at work, they offer free courses to the employees. So they're really big on you always sharpening your skills and being the best of the best. So when I was there, I was the youngest person on my team. I was the only Black person on my team, let alone a Black woman. So definitely, even, if I wasn't told to do so, I just in my head knew that I had to come in here. I had to, go above and beyond on my job. I had to be willing to learn, be a team player as well as a leader, because people get jobs at ESPN. They usually don't leave. They're there to elevate and go to, the highest level. Again, I won my first two Emmy Awards, back to back. So you're in a company that they're really big on winning and being the best. So again, I'm so thankful for my time there, because it taught me that even though I'm here, I'm at the top, you still have to work every day. Like, your job is on the line because it's the best of the best. You're in good company. Yeah. So you definitely have to just keep working, once you get in there.
So the job at Fox is it more of like you just switching gears, or is it like a step up and a gear switch?
Definitely both a step up and a gear switch. My current title is digital talent producer, completely different than me being a creative producer at ESPN. Again, I work directly alongside talent of two of our Fox Sports shows. One is called Flippin. It's a MLB show featuring Ben Berlander, who's a former MLB player, and his brother Justin Berlander is a current MLB player and also just won the World Series. So again, I'm working with the brother of a MLB World Series champion who's also a player. So him and I are working together to build up his show. which is also a on-camera show, as well as a podcast that has, made top 10 on Apple and Spotify for being, top 10 podcast in the United States. At one point, his podcast was the top number one in Japan, because he has a big Japan audience from him covering Shohei Ohtani, who's a Angels baseball player. So definitely say it's still a lot of pressure, just a whole different ball game as far as just me working close alongside talent. I also work on I'm the lead producer of a WWE show called Out of Character, which is why I was in San Antonio a few weeks ago. I was covering the 2023 Royal Rumble. Again, I'm the lead producer, so I'm working directly with the face of the show to come up with the storylines, write the scripts, deliver all the headlines and meta to different platforms, help book all the guests, the athletes for WWE, all the different superstars. And one big, huge difference in my career that I thought would never happen, I've actually appeared on camera for both of these shows as the on-camera producer. My latest on-camera appearance was for WWE on Fox. So definitely I posted an Instagram post actually yesterday, a screen grab live of me on the show, being on camera as the producer, just also talking back and forth with my host. So never was on camera before. So now I'm on camera, and I also am like kind of the lead producer / like manager of the talent for these two shows I just mentioned.
Okay. So this puts me in the mind of what was the show that Gabrielle Union was in?
Being Mary Jane. People tell me that all the time.
Is it like that? Like
it's literally just like that. So her and her producer, they literally made all the decisions together. They were best friends. They were like this. Yeah. This role that I have now, it's just like that. My role before, it was more of a behind the scenes, like editing producer role, doing creative stuff. This role is literally just like that. When I travel, I'm with my talent, we're walking together. If he needs like t-shirts for fans, meet and greets, I'm there. If he needs, different storylines for the show, I'm the one pitching the ideas, working together. It's literally him and I. We are, we're pretty much the bread and butter of the show. We can't make a decision without one another. So yes, I love that reference. People tell me that all the time, but that is literally what my new role is.
Okay. No, I think that's interesting because I remember she had a piece where she wanted to focus on certain stories. And so it's like in this role, like, do you have creativity over, like, if you wanted to do a certain segment, maybe not, with this person or with this talent, but maybe it focused more on like, Black entertainment or anything, do you have the control to do that? Or is that something where once you get to a certain space, it's like, all right, I can focus on the things that I want to focus on?
For sure. Just speaking on my WWE role with Fox, me being the lead producer, I have complete control. When I tell you, I've pitched so many great ideas this year after becoming lead, and I'm just so thankful they've all done really well. Growing up as a kid, I used to love like the Nickelodeon Kids Choice Awards, where you get to like vote as a fan on who you think is the best. We had like Keenan and Kel back then, like all those cool people. So I said, you know what? WWE is more of a fun, interactive platform. Let's do a WWE on Fox Fan Choice Awards. First time ever. We'll have our social media producer put out polls on Twitter. Of course, I'll be the one overseeing it, and we'll do an actual live show and tally up votes and announce the winners from Twitter and Instagram on Fox Sports. I pitched it to my talent, my director, and we did it. We did it in November of last year, and it did extremely well. It did so good. I'm so proud of our team for doing that. And then even for Royal Rumble, the show we had never did like preview shows before, like us basically previewing what's going to happen before the event. I pitched an idea to do a Royal Rumble preview show before we flew to San Antonio. We did that. It was absolutely amazing. And that's actually where I made my on-camera appearance. Co-host and producer with my talent. And with that, he didn't want to do this. He said it on the show. We also introduced trivia. We did Royal Rumble trivia. I was the host of trivia, and my host of my show, he was actually answering the questions. And it was really fun. Again, just showing that producer and host bond there, but something different that had never been done before. He launched this show 3 years ago, and I've been able to come in and introduce so many different elements, like trivia or fan choice awards and things of that nature.
Okay. So how do you like being on the camera versus behind the camera?
I actually love it. I think I had to get back used to it because in college I was on camera a lot. And then I fell into this like hardworking producer role. That's all I saw was producing because I was just doing so good at it. So it's honestly been very refreshing to be back on the camera and like talk about sports. And yeah, stay tuned. You may see me on the camera more often for both of those platforms, MLB and then also WWE. So more appearances to come for sure this year.
Okay. So I want to switch gears a little bit and just kind of talk about what goes into whether it's your appearance, whether it's the way you speak or anything like that as a Black woman. Like, did you ever have people say like weird, like, oh, you speak so well, or like, oh, you do this? Like, did you ever go through that like phase, or is it a thing that you have at each stage? Like, how does that work? If it's a thing at all?
That's a really great question. I know, like, growing up, like, especially like in middle school and high school, like, people will always make comments about, like, like how I would speak and how I would talk because, like, they called it, like, I was speaking proper, uppity. But my mom has been such a big influence in my life. She's a college graduate. My grandmother on my dad's side, she has her doctorate. So I spent a lot of time with her growing up in Arkansas. I probably have traveled 20 or 30 states with my grandmother alone because like I'm the oldest grandchild. So with her, like, having her doctorate, working for the state of Arkansas for 20 plus years. And then she's also really big in the Church of God in Christ community. She's like taking me all over the world. So I've been like, 10 years old amongst like, executives and presidents, whether it's been the religious community or like the corporate world. So for me personally, I've always had like a really good speech about me. Obviously it's grown over the years because there are certain corporate, terms and lingos that I had to learn. And again, my boss at ESPN and then my current boss at Fox Sports, shout out to Kathy and Ryan. They've been very instrumental. And even my mom, again, is teaching me on, how to react in certain situations, what to say, how to say it, and when's a good time to say it. Because I know often in corporate, things may happen and you want to react off emotion as soon as it happens. And I've been guilty of that. But you have to learn that, this is your job and you have to separate, your actual personal feelings on what's going to be better for your personal brand and your career.
Emmys. That's not small. That's not slight. That's crazy. It's not crazy. It's just it's very, very dope. And so I want to know the process of an Emmy. Like, is it like for the big award shows where like you have to like vote and stuff like that? Or how does that process go from start to finish?
For sure. So again, I won my two Emmy Awards with ESPN. The first one I was still employed with ESPN when I was awarded it. And unfortunately, it was during COVID. So I think I had attendance at all, or maybe even one person from my department. So as far as attending, I was unable to because COVID, as you know, they
Yeah.
weren't really having award shows. But as far as the process, I was ESPN, they higher ups, they pick, which documentaries, which shows they're going to submit to the Emmy Awards. And once that gets narrowed down, that batch of category submissions, that goes to the actual Emmy Awards in New York. And from there, they vote on them solely. So that's from, ABC, CNN, BT, VH1. And then if you have an independent project, by yourself you want to submit, that's out of everybody, in the United States. So from there, they, narrow it down and then you get nominated. So then you're an Emmy Award winning, nominee. And then the day of the award show, when that happens, you actually find out if you are the winner or not. I'm not for sure exactly how many people are in that last category for the nominees, but I know it's a very, very slim thing. And then as far as like me actually, being able to win an Emmy for the documentary, it goes to directors and producers, and then some of the art directors as well. They're the people who actually get the award for contribution for that, for that project.
And then I kind of wrote this because, like, does that mean like yesterday's price is not today's price? Kind of like when you have
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
we're
once
not
I
doing the
won,
small stuff no more.
once the first Emmy came to the mail, it actually came to my mom's address because I was moving at the time, moving to LA during that time.
Okay.
So she got to show it off for a little bit. But
Yeah.
once the Emmy was in my possession, this is the first one now. The price was just skyrocketed. I mean, it went up from there.
Okay. So you're at Fox. You said you just celebrated your 1 year,
Yes.
right? And so how do you determine what's next for you? Or do you kind of like do the best that you can with where you're at? Like, what do they say? Like, bloom where you're planted, and then the opportunities just kind of flow in. Like, how do you determine like, okay, this is my next move? So that you're maybe not, I wouldn't say wasting time, but just making sure you're doing what you want to do.
So for me, I'm definitely a planner. I write all my goals down every year. So if you see me accepting a reward on Instagram or a new promotion, just know I planned it out 6 months to a year in advance. Like
Yeah.
anything that I've ever accomplished in life, a few things I kind of just came to me. But for the most part, I wrote it down, I worked towards it, and I was very intentional as I was doing it. So I
Mm.
needed to get, this job or this award. I need to meet certain people to do that. Best believe like those people are my actual friends now. Like I may have reached out to them to ask for mentorship or advice, but like now they're in my corner and vice versa for me as well. They can come to me for anything and same here. So I definitely write everything down. And as far as what's next for me, I would just stay tuned. Definitely, more Emmys to come, more opportunities. Again, right now for Fox Sports, I cover WWE as the lead, MLB, and then also NFL as well. Who knows? You could see soccer in my future, the Olympics.
I was
Who
just about to say,
knows?
yeah.
But just know the next step will definitely be huge. So I have more to accomplish. And by the time you watch this interview, I would have dropped a very, very special announcement, a new award that was given to me by the University of Arkansas. I'm one of the youngest people
Oh,
to receive it. So when you watch this interview, please go to my Instagram and check out my post from the University of Arkansas.
okay. That's so okay. How does that feel to you? Because I mean, ESPN, Fox, these are great, but like from the things that you get from where you started, like how do they weigh in comparison?
I
More
received a
special?
call about this last week, and I called my mom first after I was called from the alumni board, and I told her that I was crying. Actually, I was crying when I was calling her, and I told her that I don't know what it is, but me receiving this award, it just feels so much special than the Emmy awards I have. The NAACP gave me Woman of the Year for journalism. two
Oh,
years
wow.
ago, and that was like really special to me. But this really, like, I was crying. It just because this is where I started. Like, granted, I'm from Monticello, but U of A is where I really just got my foot out there for journalism and learned, like, that was my next step before the real world. So it just words can't describe how it made me feel and how I will feel when I return back to my university in a few months to actually accept the award in person.
I know you mentioned like applying and actually getting rejected. How did that shape your perspective on anything, especially now that everything's full circle and everything worked out? Like, because I know a lot of people, they fear the rejection, they fear, the failure of it all. But like, what kind of kept you going in those moments? Was it just knowing that you wanted to do it, or like what was it?
I think just not even just knowing that I wanted to do it, but like knowing that like I could do it and I deserved to do it. I knew that I worked hard. I knew that I was smart. I knew I had the talents to do it. And I just needed that one chance. But I'm gonna be very honest. Like I had a time where I was so frustrated. Like I was like crying like so much
Mhm.
because I was applying to all these jobs. I had connections, but I felt like nothing was happening. My current boss at the time, I felt like he really didn't believe in me. He didn't really give me a lot of chances or opportunities at all. And I was getting so many interviews. I wasn't getting the job. So I got really discouraged. And again, like my mom, like she just has so much strength, like her being a single parent, like working multiple jobs for me growing up. I'll never forget, I think it was my freshman or sophomore year of college. And went home for Christmas and she got this huge box for me and I had no clue what it was because it was so big. I'm like, what could this be? It's not a car. And she's already like, got bought me two cars. Like, not a car. What is it? And it was like 30 boxes, me like going from box to box to box to box to box. And I got to the end, the last box, and it was my first ever MacBook Pro. And I told my mom that, like, all people in journalism, all journalists, all producers, all reporters, they have a MacBook. You can edit on it, you can graphic design, like, and I told her that for so long, but obviously a Mac is gonna run you close to $2,000. And again,
Yeah.
this is a single mom here caring for two daughters, working multiple jobs, and she still made it happen. And I just cried so much because, like, again, I still have that same MacBook and it really helped me so much. So honestly, I think just me knowing I had the capabilities to be successful and it was in me, and my mom just being like that shining light for me, like always supporting me, like literally like doing whatever she could to make sure I had to be where I am now. So shout out to my mom. I always shout her out, but I gotta shout her out 100 times.
Yeah. So that just makes me wonder. around you right now, do you see a lot of, are they mostly like single people? Do they have families? Like, are you kind of like, I want to get to where I want to be before I consider even like the family life? How do your career goals coincide with, I guess, like your woman goals, if that's the thing?
Well, I know you mentioned earlier that you're 29. I'm 29 as well. So I am 29. So almost 30. Honestly, I don't put like a lot of like pressure on like, like marriage or kids. And I will say like even at 29, I'm the youngest person on my team at Fox. So most of them do have families or married or either like divorced by now. Like I'm the only one who doesn't have either. And again, I'm the youngest.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like I definitely do date, but as far as like anything else, like I don't like put time limits or on anything like that. Kind of just like as things happen, they'll happen. But definitely look forward to one day, starting a family and getting married. That is in the cards for me. But I wouldn't say like something that like I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to get married before I turn 30.
Yeah.
So again, like God has blessed me. So I feel that, God's gonna let things happen for me in the way they should. And I think that the way like as much as my career is like established, like on a financial side, like goal side, like I'm just so comfortable right now. I can obviously always do better, but I'm in a really good spot. So when it is time for me to, have children, get married, like I will be able to dive into that without any worries about having somewhere to stay or provide for my children.
Okay. Yeah. And I always wonder because it's like such the flip side. Like we had this whole run with Kevin Samuels where it's like by the time you're 35, you're like washed up in nothing. But then I feel like in bigger cities, people, especially that are serious about their careers, like they'll be 35, 40, even still trying to make it happen. And so I just wondered like what the not necessarily pressure, but what the temperature of that kind of environment was like.
And
For
that's a good point because like in LA, it's just like that. So like in LA, but like dating, like most people, like most successful people, they don't really have time to date. I mean, I personally make time, but most of my most of my friends who are like successful, like engineers or like publicists or doctors, like they're focused on the bag. Like they'll go on dates, but like especially my LA like guy friends, like they're not trying to like lock anybody down because they're in their like, early to mid 30s
Mhm.
and they're like about to take off. They're at that point where like it's almost their time to really just go up. So they're really not that focused on dating. But again, I can only speak for me.
No, I don't know. I just think that's always so interesting, just the difference between men and women, because I feel like men, they'll like chase around in their 20s, but when they start getting their 30s and they're more established, it's like I don't know, you get some that like they still don't want to do it because now they can really enjoy life. Like I hear your 30s are like that. Like it's like your 20s, but with money. So it's just
No, yes, I'm so ready for my 30s. Like when you see me next, it may be like a Zoom in like Dubai or Paris or something.
No, I completely agree with that because, like, just personally for me, I've been in the military for I'm going on 12 years. It'll be 12 in August, and I'm like, when I hit the 10 years, I was like, if there was a time now, like now's the time. But even as I sit here and I'm approaching 30, and I'm like, we can still make it happen. I have like a vision boards and saying things, and you know. Just trying to be like a person of action, because it's not enough to just say you want to do something. Like, what are you doing to, make that happen? But the delay of it all and like the security of it all. That's why I was interested when you were saying like they flew you out, they moved you, they did all these things. People put so much emphasis on the military of like, oh, well, you don't want to lose the security of this, but it's like, no, these jobs are like doing it and then
Oh
some.
no, for sure. Like I tell everybody, even ESPN, they also like blew me out as well. My car, even like, and that's like thousands of dollars. So I would say like
Yeah.
always know your worth because like if you know you're capable of doing X, Y, and Z, put yourself out there. Like these companies have money and they're willing to invest in the right person. So never like settle or like downgrade yourself. Always think you deserve at least $1 million. If not, okay, I'll settle for six figures, but always shoot for like the highest number you can get to.
Have you ever had to bargain for your pay or anything like that?
I wouldn't say like bargain because I was quoted a lower number, but I'll always negotiate because again, I just know my worth. So like, yes, what you're offering me is great, but I deserve a little extra. So to answer your question, yes, I have negotiated my last two roles to a higher number, higher salary amount.
That's impressive because I feel like I just see a lot of places where they say women don't typically do that, whether they don't know to do that or they're not comfortable doing it. Whereas men are like, nah, like let's talk. Let's, they take up more space. So I guess that's super impressive because I'll be like, oh, what? Oh, okay, let's just do that. But like you said, you know your worth. Do you do that by knowing what the job entails and knowing what you can bring to the job and like I guess knowing that they would appreciate that or that you're an asset in that way? Or
For
how do you
sure.
know?
Definitely that like me knowing that I can bring more to the role that's on the job description. Because again, you're gonna get the job description, you're gonna apply and see what your responsibilities and tasks are. But I know that I'm a jack of all trades. So yes, you're gonna get a producer that does this, but I also bring this whole different factor to the job. For example, when I applied for this role, on camera personality of producer was like nowhere like in the description. But then I noticed that Fox allows a lot of their producers to be on camera. But again, that was not, what was sold to me. But look at me now, I'm able to get on camera and speak about any, sport you want to. So I can be in front of the camera and also behind the scenes. And I can also do both in one show and still, get records for your TV show. So I think definitely knowing like my worth and saying, you know what, you're offering me this, but let me add a little tax that I'm going to give you guys later.
Okay, I love that. So we're gonna switch gears again and we're gonna get into crack the code. So, like I said, we have two questions. The first one in the whole crack the code segment, it could literally be anything, but it's just like the protocol for certain situations. So the first one is just like how do you professionally flirt? Like if you maybe not with a coworker, but like if you're doing a job or something and somebody's interest, like what is the protocol for I guess letting them know you're interested without being unprofessional and like how does that whole scene go?
That is a good question. I feel like I'm not really a good professional flirter. I haven't had too many experiences with this, but I will tell you a funny, relatable story.
Okay.
Last week they had the Clash. It's a huge NASCAR race here in LA, and then I was covering it on behalf of Fox because we had some WWE superstars in town that were doing a promo with NASCAR. So obviously, me being the producer, they invited me kind of to like produce it from the WWE standpoint. And I'm like there on the track. I have my iPhone. I'm recording footage or whatever. And this guy is like, "Are you cold in your jacket?" And like he's not a wrestler, he's not a NASCAR driver, but he's clearly somebody. He's also here on the track with me for this, this shooting. And long story short, I was like, no, I don't need a jacket. And he was like, have you ever been to the Bahamas before? And I'm like, where does this guy want the Bahamas? I said, no, not yet, but my best friend's from there. And he was like, oh, well, like, we should go. And he like says it in front of like people and they hear it and everybody's like, oh my gosh, this like love at first sight, 90 Day Fiance, like what's going on? So I guess he professionally flirted with me. And I did respond back. And after the shoot was over, I went back to the green room, gathered my things, and guess who is right behind me? The guy, and he asked to take me out on a dinner. So so that just happened last week. So it wasn't me. I guess I was flirting back, but I would just say to always focus on your work, which I was doing, and just find a way to, I guess, go off to the side, exchange contacts, exchange emails, numbers, ask to grab coffee, keep it very professional at first, and just go from there.
I think that's interesting because like the lines are so I don't know in your line of work, but it's like if it's somebody you gotta see every day, it's like like maybe not.
Yeah,
But
I would say
you
like, yeah,
all the
people you see every
time.
day, probably not, but like maybe we're doing like a collaboration with like, a different show or network or party, then you can kind of mix and mingle a little bit.
Okay, so then my next question is just like about trips. So I feel like on the average, when you're like 29, like you're very far, and so like the average 29-year-old, like maybe not so much. So in terms of friends and trips, like especially group trips, because you start off with like 5 or 6 people, and then you get a month out and you got like 2 or 3 people, and then maybe you get there and then they made it there, but they don't have no money there. So like, how do you, if that's even a thing for you, how have you had to navigate that? And then how do you like manage those friendships? Because that's happened to me before. And I was
Oh
like, for my
no.
birthday, like I'm boarding the plane. And she was like, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to make it, like family reasons. So I was like in Vegas, of all places, like by myself. Now I'm a solo trip girl. So like I'll meet people wherever, but it's just like, dang, like you're trying to, make memories and do all these things. Like, how does that work for you?
That's so bad that friends will do that. I personally haven't experienced that, and I'm like a frequent like flyer, but I have had other friends who have had like literally them being on the plane and like arriving and them getting a text saying, "Oh, like I'm not gonna be able to make it." And I have had people live in the same city as me, former friends, telling me I'm gonna come to your birthday party, and then like we're all here at brunch eating, and then I get a text saying, "Hey, I'm not gonna be able to make it." Well, of course you're not. We're already
We're
here.
already here.
We're already eating. The food's already came out. So I think in that situation with me personally, the more like successful I become and the more popular I become, this is the big one, popular on the internet, people see that and they watch me and they try to be like, oh, well, let's hang out again. Give me a second chance. Like for me, it's always going to be a no. Like I'm going to love you from afar. But
Yeah.
if you set me up for my birthday, especially, or if you just didn't come through with me without properly communicating, it's going to be a no. So for me, it's just like you're posting me your Instagram story. Congratulations on your second Emmy. But yeah, behind closed doors, you're standing me up and not being a good friend. And I value friendships a lot, especially when you're combining that with like, you trying to like use me, like to like we're friends. I personally don't like that. So again, I'm a pretty nice person. So I'm still gonna love you, but from afar. Like we can't do trips anymore. We can't go to
Yeah.
events. Like I still wish you the best and congratulate you on your endeavors, but we can't kiki and hang out. We
I mean, but how do you differentiate? Because I hear so many people, they're like, oh, I don't want the fame, I just want money, because there's just so many other things that come with that. So like, how do you differentiate, especially because you're always out meeting people, like who's genuine and who's there just like, I guess, for the opportunity of it all?
For sure. I think I'm really one of those people that really enjoy the career level of career advancement and the money, because the money is great at this point versus like the popularity. But I think it's just one of those things that comes with it. Like, if you post on Instagram, people are watching, you meet people, like
Yeah.
your following is going to grow. People are going to notice you. So it's kind of like, unless I just get off Instagram, I can't really like avoid the popularity that I do have. So I think just like having a sharp eye for people who actually support you. Like some people, like Grammy Sleep was last week. So I was at a private party with like Coyle Ray and like
Oh,
Moneybag Yo, like literally invite only parties, DJ Drama. So people see there and they're like, they want to hit me up to be friends. And it's just like, well, when I'm having a career move or something in my life happening, you're not there. So
yeah.
I look at people who are there for me all the time versus just there when I'm around like, celebrities, people on a pedestal.
Mhm.
I want you to be my friend for me and support me first. And yes, like if I do, get a chance to meet the Moneybag Yo's, the Megans, the Coyle Rays, that's fun, cheer me on. But like the real thing here in the friendship is us supporting each other,
Yeah.
not like, supporting each other for being around certain people.
No, definitely respect for that. This brings another question. So let's say you're at the peak, you're like doing everything's great, you meet somebody, they're, notable, whatever. Would you ever be willing to step down from what you're doing to be, I guess, a mother or just a supportive spouse or any of those things?
That's also an excellent question. Because I have like dated an athlete before. At 29, I would say no. I feel like, and just for me seeing so many just strong, powerful women, I feel like you don't have to like put yourself down or be a stay-at-home mother unless you want to like, support your man who may be a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist. I think you can definitely balance both. Even as a mom, I want to be that mom that still like, works hard,
Like,
married or not. I still want to be that strong, independent woman. And people ask me that all the time, like, oh, if you meet someone like at your job or an athlete or somebody, would you like quit your job? And it's like, absolutely not. Like, absolutely not. I love my job so much. It's fun for me. I just love it. I love it so much. Like, granted, I'm not like, oh my God, I just can't stop working because I probably would cut back,
mhm.
but you're gonna see me in this producer journalist chair for a while.
Okay. So I know you mentioned a couple of things that you have coming up. I kind of want to circle back and highlight those again. Tell people where they can find you. Tell people what you have coming, like just all the things.
For sure. So please follow me on all platforms. My username is the same on everything. It's Raya, RAYA underscore Clay, CLAY. If you enjoy wrestling, if you were a fan of wrestling growing up, please download the Out of Character podcast. It is a Fox podcast produced by me, hosted by Ryan Satin. April will be the big WrestleMania pay-per-view for WWE. I will be there at SoFi Stadium. Please meet me there. If you come, I may have some Out of Character merchandise for you. Also watch Flippin with Ben Berlander. I am one of the producers for that show. Big things to come. I am booked to speak at California State University's journalism department in a couple months. Beware of that. And then a major, major announcement coming from me being honored at the University of Arkansas. So please go back and look at that as well. By the time you watch this, the news will be out. So definitely make sure you check my Instagram for details on that.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you guys for tuning in. We are back with season 2. This is episode 1. You can find us on Spotify at Vault Conversations and Vault_Convos on Instagram. So thank you again. I appreciate you guys and thank you for tuning in.